Mari, you good? All right. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2025 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December of 2024, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Daffis,
Present.
Mr. DeLuca,
Here.
Ms. Engel.
Here.
Ms. Harmon.
Here.
Mayor Adams.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires all meetings of public bodies will be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire the governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee, Township of Maplewood does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in a formal agenda, active participation in deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
Of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask that you all remain standing for a moment of silence for 50-year business owner in Maplewood Village, Anthony Garubo, who passed away with his salon that I think we're all familiar with, a cherished member of the community, and I ask for your moment of silence. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first meeting of 2025 of the Maplewood Township Committee. This evening, we have a special presentation and proclamation in honor of Audrey Rowe in her retirement from the Community Coalition on Race. I'll be happy to read that and ask you to join me at the podium. Then we have a proclamation read by Deputy Mayor Herman on Muslim Heritage Month. Then we have a couple of board appointments, and then we have a Board of Health meeting. Then we will move into public comment for agenda items only. We have no ordinances on final passage, but we have some introductions for ordinances. And then we have reports from departments, reports from elected officials. Committee Member DeLuca will go first, Committee Member Daffis, Deputy Mayor Herman, Committee Member Engel, and then I will go last. We have one discussion item on for tonight. That is a stormwater utility credit policy that Mr. DeLuca will lead that discussion as he's been working closely on this. Then we have the consent agenda. And at the end, we have another public comment on any issue. So we will move right into the special presentation. So Audrey and anyone else from the Community Coalition on Race who would like to join us at the podium, please.
You guys are the same height.
That's always good. So I'm pleased to read this proclamation for you. Whereas the pursuit of equality, though rewarding, often demands sacrifices of time spent with family, friends, and personal interests. And whereas Audrey Rowe has served with distinction as the program director of the South Orange Maplewood Community Coalition on Race for over 23 years, demonstrating unwavering commitment to building a racially, culturally, and socially integrated and inclusive community, and where she has been instrumental in developing innovative programs such as integration through the arts, the wealth gap, equalizer loan, conversations on race, the Dr. King observance, fostering understanding and dialogue across our communities, and advancing equity and unity in South Orange and Maplewood. And whereas her leadership has touched countless lives and positively impacted our communities through her dedication to racial equality, volunteer mobilization, and her visionary approach to promoting integration and unity. And whereas she transitions into retirement, we honor Audrey Rowe for her legacy of service, commitment, and enduring positive impact she has had on our shared communities. And whereas the success and longevity of the Community Coalition on Race is directly related to the work and commitment of Audrey during her tenure, and I wouldn't want to imagine what the organization would have been without her. It's true, that was my quote. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Nancy Adams, Mayor of Township of Maplewood, in honor of you and from my colleagues as well on the Township Committee, with deep gratitude, honor Audrey Rowe for her remarkable contributions, tireless dedication to the Coalition on Race, and lasting positive change she has brought to our community by proclaiming today, it's almost over, but you can still party, January 7th, 2025, as Audrey Rowe Day in the Township of Maplewood. Though she may have retired from one role, we are certain her commitment to civil rights advocacy remains eternal. Thank you. Yeah, get a little extra, and I wanted the CCR. Come on up. Thank you.
You would love to.
I can hear you.
Wow, I just want to say thank you so much and how honored and actually surprised for this wonderful honor. Um, I've worked with each and every one of you, and I guess my comments are ones of thanks. And the first thank goes to you as individuals and to you as a body, because without the Maplewood Township Committee, I don't even know if the coalition would exist. You've been critical to our development. Your support has allowed us to sustain our work where other communities have fallen by the wayside. And we're so grateful. And I hope that that support continues throughout many, many years. I also want to thank the coalition, which has given me a way to live out my own life mission and ministry, which is to bring people together in unity, mainly to have one humanity where we all have equity and we all have the options to live our lives out and be all that we can do. I have to thank my husband for all of the time, and my entire family for the times that I was not fixing dinner, but asking what was for dinner, because I had been in meetings all day or all evening. And I want to thank you out there, you, my neighbors, the community, because you make all of this work. I thank those of you who have come to coalition events and supported our work. And I challenge those of you who have not, because as we go forward into 2025, this is going to be a challenging year. And we need everyone to lean in and to be a part of what we want to be as a beloved community. I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful. I've had all kinds of gifts. Someone even wrote me a sonnet. One person left me a note that has become my mantra, and I end by sharing that with you. And it basically says, do not fear work that has no end. And as we look at our mission as a coalition, as you look at your work as governmental leaders, I'm sure you can truly relate to that. So do not fear. We're going to lean in and we're going to make this community and this nation all that it should be. Thank you so much for the honor. Appreciate it.
I'll ask Deputy Mayor to please read the Muslim Heritage Month proclamation.
Right. Whereas in April 2023, Governor Phil Murphy signed a joint resolution designating January of each year as Muslim Heritage Month. And whereas New Jersey is home to the third largest Muslim population in the United States, with an estimated 300,000 Muslims residing in the state. And whereas Muslim Americans in New Jersey have made significant contributions locally and nationally, including former Montgomery Township Mayor Sadaf Jaffer, the first Muslim woman to serve as a mayor in the United States, and Wafia Muhammad of Newark, a former special education teacher and advocate for children with autism, and New Jersey native G. Willow Wilson, a writer credited with relaunching the popular Jersey City-based superhero Miss Marvel. And whereas Maplewood has long embraced values of diversity, community, and inclusion, which align with the wisdom of the Quran that says, "What is the reward of goodness but goodness?" These embedded and shared values inspire us to foster understanding, build connections, and offer help in times of need. And whereas while we celebrate the achievements of Muslim Americans, we must also acknowledge the diverse journeys that many Muslim Americans have taken to the United States, including those brought forcibly through the transatlantic slave trade, and those who immigrated for education opportunities or safety. These histories are marked by both hardship and resilience, and we honor their stories. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, I, Malia Herman, on behalf of Nancy Adams, the mayor of the Township of Maplewood, and the entire Township Committee, recognize and dedicate the month of January as Muslim Heritage Month. While the richness of the Muslim heritage cannot be fully captured in 1 month or one declaration, we encourage you to engage with Muslim heritage year-round through learning, participation in community events, and embracing a culture that has often been underrepresented and misrepresented, despite its profound impact on the world. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move to board appointments, board and committee appointments, and Mr. DeLuca, you have a few to reappoint.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the reappointment of Susan Newberry and Gary Nelson to the Historic Preservation Commission for a 4-year term each, starting January 1st, 2025 and ending January 31st, 2027. No,
I'll second it.
28, sorry.
I'll second that.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Engel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes.
Then I have a reappointment of Aaron Gublar to the Affordable Housing Board for a 3-year period from January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2027.
I'll second.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes.
And lastly, I have the reappointment of our Environmental Advisory Chair, Robert McCoy, to Sustainable Maplewood for a 1-year term, January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025.
I'll second that one.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes. Thank you. Now we move into our Board of Health meeting. I'll turn it over to Committee Member Engel.
Nope, to the clerk.
Oh, to the clerk.
It's your reorganization meeting.
What happened?
It's our reorg.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry. Clerk?
Clerk. She only gives us our papers. She doesn't have hers ready.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2025 to the News Record and Star Ledger in 2024, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor Adams,
Yes.
Daffis.
Yes.
DeLuca.
Yes.
Sengel.
Yes.
Sermon.
Yes.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the Board of Health has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire the Maplewood Board of Health to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by the Maplewood Board of Health, Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in deliberations of the Board of Health by the public, and except as otherwise described by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions, discussions of the Board of Health at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Daffis.
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Sengel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman.
Yes.
Members of the Board of Health, call now for nominations for chair of the Maplewood Board of Health for the year 2025.
I nominate Deborah Engel.
Second.
Are there any further nominations?
I move the nominations be closed.
I second the motion.
Okay, so taking a roll call now for Ms. Engel to be the chair. Mayor Adams, Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Luca.
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman.
Yes.
I declare Deborah Engel the duly elected president of the Maplewood Board of Health for the year 2025.
Speaking, no speaking.
President Engel.
I move the approval of the Board of Health meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2024.
Second. Second.
Mayor Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Daffis.
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Ms. Herman.
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes. Now I turn things over to our health officer, Candace Davenport.
Who's been waiting?
Good evening, everybody, and congratulations, Ms. Engel. We'll start with the Essex County Code Blue. So the Code Blue for Essex County has been extended to January 11th at 8 a.m. So until January 10th overnight, Essex County facilities will be open to assist people to get out of the cold and find shelter.
Huh.
If anyone would like to reach CSP&J, which is the Collaborative Support Programs of New Jersey, that is our homeless outreach and engagement, they can call the warm line at 848-234-7006. If you need transportation to any of these Essex County shelters, they will be able to provide it to you. Next slide, please. As always, we want to start off the year letting people know about these emergency phone numbers for 911, 988, 211, and for poison control. Especially given this time of year, if anyone needs to speak with someone 24/7 for a mental health, suicide, or emergency crisis, you can call 988 to speak with a counselor directly. Next slide. We're moving on to our nursing update for the month of December. Our nurses had investigated 7 reportable diseases. They provided 2 homebound vaccinations to residents and 1 flu homebound vaccination. And they've conducted 5 immunization audits, mostly for all of our schools who are above 95% compliance. Just to remind residents that we offer free COVID vaccinations for those who are homebound. They can reach our office and speak to our public health nursing supervisor, Anna Markarova, to schedule an appointment. Next slide. Likewise, we also have free COVID kits here at Town Hall. We provide 2 boxes with 2 kits for each household, but you can also still order directly from the federal government, and it'll be mailed out to you if you go to covidtest.gov. Next slide. The county is offering free COVID-19 vaccinations for the pediatric population. So if anyone is looking for a COVID vaccine for their 6-month to 11-year-old, if your pediatrician does not carry it, we will be holding that at the Maplewood Community Center at DeHart Park at 120 Burnett Avenue on Friday, January 24th from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. Must schedule appointments. They are required so that the county knows how many to bring. So please go to the QR code or call the phone number below to schedule a reservation.
You made Ms. Fritzen very happy by saying the Maplewood Community Center.
And Mr. DeLuca's.
We're here to please, so.
We're here to please.
We're here to please. Very good.
Thank you. Here at the service of the Township Committee. So the Essex County is also providing vaccines for children. They always update their clinics every month. So these are the dates when they'll be providing it. They're trying to do more of moving them around. So as you can see, one is being offered in Bloomfield this Wednesday. On the 15th of January, they'll be in Orange, which is a new location. And on January 22nd, they will be in Irvington. So they are trying to move around to give people as many availability to access childhood vaccinations. This is important for children, especially if they need to have vaccinations to attend school. Just a reminder that if you are in need of health insurance, New Jersey Family Care is still open until January 31st. So please register if you need to. Moving on to environmental health and animal control services for the month of December, our REHS or registered environmental health inspectors have been busy dealing with complaints. Most of those are heat related. So we've been addressing those, and we've been also preparing to do licensing for dogs and cats, but also for our retail food establishments like restaurants, as well as other businesses such as vape shops, tattoo parlors, body art, massage and spa, pools and childcare centers, and kennels. Moving on. This was something new that was not put in the agenda because it just came out today, but we wanted to raise awareness that there's a recall notice of childhood, of lead exposure and cadmium poisoning from a certain type of children's jewelry set. So given that the holidays were just around the corner, if anyone purchased this, it looks like you would purchase it off of Amazon, please dispose of them and remove them from access for children because there is a risk of lead and cadmium poisoning from this type of jewelry. Next slide. As mentioned, the 2025 dog and cat licensing is now open. That'll be open until January 31st. So anyone who has a domestic dog or cat, please have them licensed. You can do that online on our township website. Moving on to social services and mental health, our crisis intervention social workers have been busy for the month of December. Their total number of cases, it should be December, sorry about that, for the month of December was 17 with 5 co-responses with the Maplewood Police Department and 10 clinical cases that they had to follow up with. Next slide. And then on December 30th, the Essex County Reach for Recovery mobile van was here at the community fridge. They assisted 6 people. They'll be here at the end of every month, so we're making it a routine that they will be here offering services. Again, for people who are curious about the services that they provide education and referrals for substance use assessment, health and wellness screenings, care coordination, Narcan distribution, and community resource sharing. for yourself or for a loved one who might have questions or an addiction to some substances. And that is the end of our presentation.
Thank you so much. Any questions from my colleague for Ms. Davenport? Mr. DeLuca?
Thank you. Thank you for sending the slides out because it's hard to see the small numbers, so it's easier to see. On the co-responses for the crisis intervention social workers, we have a public safety meeting tomorrow night. If there's anything that you want to share privately with us that we could share in close with the chief, you can let me know tomorrow.
Sure.
But is there anything publicly you want to say about that, how it's working? Are there particular kinds of cases that they're being called to co-respond?
Response? Okay, so the Crisis Intervention Social Worker Program has been in effect, as you know, since April of 2022. So we are hitting our stride, and it has been very effective to have a co-response mechanism. Some of the things that they respond to in the process is that someone will call either for an emotionally disturbed persons or like I'll just use general examples, domestic violence. They will go out with the police officer and co-respond. They de-escalate, they try to assess the situation, and then they make referrals if needed. If, for example, it is a person with a psychosis and in need of a screener from Clara Moss, they'll call someone in to provide the screener, and then the screener assesses them, and then they can be admitted into the hospital. That's the only way that a person could be admitted into the hospital for further care. But because the social workers are trained in this, they know how to identify it and when they need to add backup help. It has been extremely helpful, and I think the Maplewood Police Department would definitely say that they have appreciated co-response and having another professional there who understands social work and all of the needs and referrals. One thing I've always noticed is that PD has said we can respond to that situation in that moment, but we can't know what happens after that. And these cases become chronic cases. They keep getting calls, but they never get the help. Since the Crisis Intervention Social Worker Program has been in effect, those numbers have dropped of chronic numbers of households that have been calling for the same issues. We get them help, we connect them. If they need more referrals, we keep in touch with them. And we make connections with the school district as well. If this involves a family with children in the school district, to let them know a handle with care for these children, especially if something happened after school or after hours. So everything is private, confidential, and the police know when to step back and say, this is the social worker who's now going to take over, and we usually follow up with the resident if the day of, if not weeks afterward. So there's a lot of follow-up that comes with it. Sometimes, as you notice with the clinical cases, those are more clinical in nature, where they have psychosis or psychological
Case management.
that
Yeah.
they need. So
Yeah.
it's
So-
very effective.
Committee Member DeLuca, we should get you a report, if you recall, Health Officer Davenport, that we made, that the crisis intervention social workers made to the Community Board on Police in the fall of last year. It had a lot of substance in there. It talked about the types of cases, the difference between the co-response and the clinical. And we should share that with incoming Chair of Public Safety Committee Member DeLuca.
Could definitely do that.
Can you send that to me as well?
Yeah, sure. We should share it with everyone. Yeah.
So that's the Community Board on Police fall presentation from our crisis social workers.
I think it was in the fall. Maybe it was a little bit later than that. But yeah, it was a few months ago.
Got it? Will do.
Any other questions for Ms. Davenport? Sorry.
I have a question. I have been reading and hearing in the news that in our area in particular, and this is not uncommon this time of year, but there are respiratory infections on the rise.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you know about this and how we can protect ourselves?
Right. So we have seen an increase of a bunch of infectious and communicable diseases, such as flu, as well as COVID, as well as RSV. It is the time of season when respiratory illnesses rise, and these are the three that are most common and prevalent. We always encourage people to get a COVID and influenza vaccine, and for those who are seniors, to get an RSV vaccine. If you are, it's the same things that we told people for COVID, as well as with any respiratory infection. If you are sick, please stay home. If you have a cough, please cover your cough. If you are sick and you've recovered from COVID or flu, the process is the same. After 24 hours of being symptom-free, you can go back into the community. If you would like to be more protective, it is strongly advised to wear a mask for a few days afterward, just to make sure that you're not spreading anything. But other than that, the protocol for COVID is the same. So we also advocate for hand hygiene, and covering your cough and staying home if you're sick are really the main things. For those who are suffering from flu, there is over-the-counter medication like Theraflu that you can take. Otherwise, it just requires just rest and self-medication.
Thank you.
Any further questions from my colleagues?
I was going to say, just following on that, for any residents who might not have gotten their flu shot or their latest COVID-19 vaccine, is it too late?
No, absolutely not. So if you have insurance, you can go to any Walgreens or CVS, or even to your pediatrician or your healthcare provider, and you can still get the COVID and flu vaccine. If you have a hard time getting the COVID-19 vaccine, for example, for pediatrics, they can come to one of the county clinics where they're offering those for free.
Oh, that's great. And are you still doing the at-home vaccines?
For homebound only.
Right.
Yes.
Right, for
Yeah, for
homebound.
COVID and for flu.
Great.
Any other questions? Mayor, you're the last one. No, I don't have any questions either. So anyone here in the room have any questions for Health Officer Davenport? Mr. Wary, will you help facilitate public comment online?
If anyone on Zoom would like to address the Board of Health, please raise your hand now. I see no hands.
All right, with that, I move we adjourn to our next scheduled meeting on Tuesday, February 4th.
Second.
Mayor Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Ms. Herman,
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davenport. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you. Now we move to public comment on agenda items only. So if there's anyone in the room who wants to speak on anything on the agenda tonight, you can come up to the microphone and have 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Ware, is there anyone online?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak on agenda items only, please raise your hand. I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move into introduction of ordinances. Ms. Fritzen.
Yes, Mayor. Item number 9, introduction of new ordinances. Ordinance number 3139-25. Capital ordinance appropriating $176,000 from the General Capital CF Capital Improvement Fund to provide for rehabilitation of the sanitary sewer system on Maplewood Avenue between Highland Place and Inwood Place in and by the Township of Maplewood in the County of Essex, New Jersey. Capital ordinance shall provide funding for the cleaning and select rehabilitation of the sanitary sewer system on Maplewood Ave between Highland Place and Inwood Place.
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on January 21st, 2025.
Thank you. Second?
I second the motion.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Ms. Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. Next ordinance, 3140-25.
Yes, Mayor, also an intro. An ordinance to amend Chapter 257 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Vehicles and Traffic with respect to 2-hour parking on Raymond Terrace. This ordinance will amend 2-hour parking on Raymond Terrace between Milburn Avenue and the township border.
May I get a motion?
Mayor, yes, just to remind us, this is going to allow the residents on Raymond Terrace to park there beyond the 2 hours with a permit. I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on January 21st, 2025.
Second.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. Last ordinance on introduction.
Yes, Mayor. Item 9C, ordinance number 3141-25 is an ordinance amending ordinance 3138-24 of the Township of Maplewood, establishing a stormwater utility. This ordinance will amend ordinance 3138-24 of the Township, which established stormwater utility to lengthen the period of time in which a property owner may appeal a fee calculation.
Okay, thank you. May I get a motion?
Yes, just to remind us that this is in response to a speaker at our last meeting who suggested that we change the 30 days
Two.
for an appeal to 90 days, and then we changed our response from 30 days to 60 days. So again, this is in response to a citizen's recommendation. With that, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and the hearing to be held on January 21st, 2025.
Second.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. Any questions from my colleagues on the December budget report that was provided? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to administrative reports. Mr. Weary.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to highlight one light item on the agenda. Tonight, we are appointing an arts and culture manager. So we're very excited for them to start. We had a very competitive application process, over 60 applicants, and a lot of high-quality applicants, fortunately, in the final round of interviews. So we are excited to bring them on board. They begin next week. They bring with them a lot of experience, both locally, nationally, and internationally. So it is exciting with a new employee. So we look forward to them joining us. That's my report, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Weary?
I have a couple. How do we say the new arts and culture manager's name?
Ooh. She goes by Andrea. She goes by Andrea.
Okay,
Much easier.
First name is
wonderful.
Goes by Andrea.
Okay.
We're not good at pronouncing.
Can we do a press release about this
Ken?
after tonight? So that members of the community know that we do have a new arts culture manager. We've gotten some questions about that, and that will also help her make connections with the different groups.
Sure. And this process, we have worked with the Maplewood Arts Council on reviewing in the early stage some of the applicants, and we've kept them updated throughout. So they're aware of this appointment as well.
Great.
Anyone else?
I think you have no.
I have one other
Oh,
question.
sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Mayor. So we provided our availability for upcoming budget hearings. When will we receive calendar invites for those hearings?
They went out last week.
Okay. I will speak to you offline then, because I don't have anything in my calendar for the budget hearings.
Everybody else received them yet? Just to make
No,
sure.
I have
Okay.
my calendar.
I'm glad I asked you
I
then.
put it on. Or if they were
Okay.
in.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Could you explain the resolution 3425 on the consent agenda about the competitive contracting for police off-duty employment scheduling, just so everyone is aware of what
Yeah.
we've been talking about for years and what we hope to be doing here?
So, in a big picture, the state allows townships to use competitive contracting for specific purposes. One of which is for contracting for concessions, and another one is for contracting for proprietary software. And so, the competitive contracting process allows you to rank proposals where you're not just bound by the low bidder. So that's that you're approving tonight. There's a requirement that anytime you engage in a new type of competitive contracting service, that the governing body pass a resolution. So that's what you're doing tonight. But as far as what we are doing with that, we will be issuing an RFP for police off-duty management services. So right now, if you are a utility or you're a private contractor and you require off-duty police, most often that's during road projects, you would contact our police department, you post escrows, you schedule with us. We then put that out to our police officers. They sign up for it. We schedule them. It's a very labor-intensive process that right now is being handled by police officers in the department. There are companies that have emerged, let's say, over the last 5 to 8 years that will manage that process for you. And they have software solutions that do it. They are used in other municipalities. So, you know, when we pick up jobs, our police officers pick up jobs in other towns. You know, a lot of them use the same software where anytime a job comes up, these companies will work directly with the contractor or utility that's hiring them. They put out the availability to all police officers via usually like a web app or a phone application. Officers can respond back, letting them know that they're available. They can get scheduled. When they go to the job, they can check in. The companies will typically the escrow is deposited with the township, and then we pay it out to the officers in payroll. This company would manage that escrow, so they would take in the money, and then when it's time for payment, they would transmit that to the township, and we would pay that out in payroll. So they will take that whole process on themselves, do a better job than we can do now because we don't have those software applications, and it'll really free up the police officer specifically who's responsible for this, you know, their time that can be used doing better things. So we're excited about this. There's a cost for this service, and right now, off-duty jobs, we charge a 10% administrative fee. So the new company will take all or some portion of that 10% fee. Part of their response is to tell us what they'll charge. So the township at that point can decide, do we want to give everything to them, or do we want to increase our fees to where they get to take, let's say, 10% and we keep another 2%. That's a discussion for a later date, but that's part of this. So this is just another thing we're doing to try to help take work off of our officers that will free them up to do more police work.
Yeah, and the 10% that we get on a fee does not even cover the aggravation and work that it takes to make this happen.
Right. So total, I think in 2023, we collected $80,000 from that 10% administrative fee.
Yeah. And we're almost always written up in our audits because we do not get the escrows, because it's hard to get the escrows from the utility companies and other contractors.
And that's a good point. And not just our police department is tasked with administering this, but so is our finance department, taking in cash, posting them to escrow accounts. You know, we're required by law to take the money up front. And so if the contractor doesn't use all the money, then we have to refund it to them. If they do use it and the job's still ongoing, we have to get more money from them. It's a big process for both our police department and our finance department. So this is a great solution, and we look forward to receiving these proposals. You'll still have another opportunity to discuss this topic at the time when we make a recommendation to you for award of a contract, should we be at that position.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr.
Just want to ask about two things.
Mhm.
The donation from the United Methodist Women of Morrow Church, that looks like really nice. I wanted to say thank you to them. I wonder if you could tell us about that. And then the second thing is the purchase of the 3 electric jitney buses, which is very exciting. I wanted to hear about that, and maybe that's something we want to do a release on or tout as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, along with the one we received a week ago.
So
Yeah.
we, for the first one regarding the Morrow Memorial United Methodist Church, they had reached out to us in December of last year for specifically for the Maplewood Welfare Fund, that the United Women of Faith at the church had selected us to receive a $500 donation. And so that will go into our welfare fund to be used for the select purposes that residents can benefit from who need the use of that. So, we're fortunate to have received that donation. And the second
nice.
piece regarding the bus,
Yeah.
The electric bus.
the electric bus.
Jitneys.
So, yeah, so we are getting 3 electric jitneys. This has been a long process, so this is kind of hopefully the final stages of this resolution. But there was grant funding available for municipalities to retire gas and diesel buses and move towards fully electric. And so the diesel buses that we have now will be rendered inoperable once we receive these we have to cut through the frames so that, they can be never used again, which is good because, this is a full replacement for what was a diesel vehicle and will be fully electric. And these are, big buses, very expensive, and we're fortunate.
We'll be talking about it in the budget meeting because the grant was $940,000 and the bus is about 1.4 for the three of them. So we'll have to put some more money in, but it's a huge grant. And this was, we've been working on it for a while. And this is in addition to the electric bus for the seniors. So we're moving to, get our fleet to more electric.
Yeah, and we had recently purchased hybrid vehicles for the police department, fully electric vehicles for the police department, two fully electric trucks, one used by DPW, one here at Town Hall. We have a number of plug-in hybrids in our township fleet. So, we continue the transition to renewable energy and electric vehicles.
Are we doing anything for the senior
I was just
electric? Yeah.
emailing. We'll be doing something.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Excellent. I can't wait.
Maplewood.
Email is on its way.
Yes. Yes, it's being lettered as we speak. So graphic.
Being lettered. When will
Yeah.
it be done?
And,
being lettered?
and also the drivers are getting trained up on using it, which it's not a great difference, but nevertheless, we want to make sure they have opportunities to drive it before
And you're
we're
charging it.
moving passengers and charging it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen it on the township committee?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I
Yeah,
have
Is it
not.
cool?
I mean, I've seen the outside. Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, the inside of it. I
Like a
mean,
bus though, isn't it?
It's not like the future. It's pretty, looks like a nice bus.
okay. Hey, look,
It's a brand new bus.
It's a naked bus right now. It has no lettering on it. So it really needs to have letter on.
right,
Yeah.
right. But it's accessible because we didn't have that before
Yeah.
and it's electric.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. It'll get good.
Okay, we'll
And
do,
it
we'll
arrived.
do a ribbon cutting as soon as it's lettered.
As soon as it's.
Okay, moving on.
Just to go back to
No,
Mr.
not yet.
Daffis's earlier, I didn't get actually a calendar invite for but I got your email with the dates, but I don't have the times or anything. I just have
Resend
placeholders.
calendar invites tonight.
The budget?
Yeah, I did not get calendar. I just put them in from his dates. saved the
Same.
dates.
Same. Yeah. Okay.
An implication that I left them off.
Yeah.
We do like
I
our
think you
calendar
left- I
invites.
think you
Mr.
might have
Daffis
left
and I.
everyone off, so. Okay, we'll move away from Mr. Wary and move on to Township Attorney, Mr. Credidio.
There you go.
There you go.
I tried.
Township Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of quick things. So I just want to make a point from our last meeting that we had in December. We left the meeting saying that we would be hosting early voting. You all know that changed. And the county was notified that we would not be able to do that this year, but we will be interested in 2026. And then I'm happy to report, if you took a look, and the Deputy Township Clerk did a great job on remodeling the Township Committee pages. And your pictures are up and biographies.
Oh, they are.
Take a look.
Oh,
And
Even-
following your photos on New Year's Day, I think I'm waiting for like one more response as to what you liked, and we'll be proceeding there, as well as we're pretty close to rolling out our mayor's alcove pictures
cool.
that, we've been working on with the photography company. So that's the update.
Are what pictures?
Well, the mayor's portraits that are in the Cat's
Oh, okay.
Corner, which is something I want to get completed. And we're getting close.
Okay,
And that's all that I have.
They look the same.
anyone have any questions for Ms. Fritzen?
What was the first thing you mentioned? I didn't catch that about
Website.
voting.
The first thing was, when we left here in December, we had stated that we were going to be meeting with the county to be an early polling location. And as everybody knows, we're going to have to put that off for about 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Then we'll move on to Township Committee Member Reports, elected officials, and we start with, who did I say? Mr. DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have two things. One, at the next meeting, I hope to present the report of the board and committee demographics.
Okay,
It's been slow going this year. I had to push and pull to get the responses, but they're slowly coming in. And the other thing I just want to mention is that on the consent agenda, there's a resolution 3625, number 14U, which is a contract with Barton Ross Consulting for $40,750, and that's to do the historic preservation element of the master plan. And I want to thank we had a team from the Historic Preservation Commission that looked at the proposals and met with Mr. Weary and myself, and there was an agreement on this contractor. So we're moving ahead with this. That's it.
That's exciting because that's another master plan recommendation.
Check them off.
Check them off. We're not going to need the working group anymore.
Any questions for Mr. DeLuca? All right, seeing none. Mr. Daffis.
I only have one quick thing as well, Mayor, as my committee assignments. My committees will be meeting this week. We did have a meeting last night with the MVA, a spirited meeting, I might say, that went on for a couple of hours. We look forward to the MVA's presentation of their budget this year to the Township Committee, as is our annual practice. And we will take a very close look when that happens to ensure that to ensure that their budget is a budget that is really one that supports the MVA and all of their ambitions and aspirations and all of their activities. We have some reservations about that in our discussions last night, and not everybody was on board. And we'll have more discussion during our budget hearings, but I have faith and confidence that what they present will be a budget that's sincere and sincerely supportive of all of their initiatives and needs. And that's something we should be looking at. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Daffis? That's just a teaser for the budget hearing so that everybody tunes in.
Yes.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Herman, sorry, I heard a
Oh,
noise
thanks.
over here.
I have some, I guess, signups that are coming up to share. The big thing is camp registration, which opens January 13 at 10 a.m. That I believe is Monday. We have a lot of camps, including Kids Camp, Maplecraft Camp, Tennis Camp, Mermaid Camp, Scott Donnie Dive Camp, MAPSO Summer Slam Basketball Camp, Creative Learning Camps, Lego Camps, and more. The next thing to also you can sign up for right now is MSO Softball. This is open to both Maplewood and South Orange residents, elementary and middle school. Registration is open now through March 15 at the Maplewood Rec Desk. The season starts in April after spring break. This is a really, really awesome program. This is the very first year that we are not going to be a part of it because my daughter is in high school now. So you can also sign up to be coaches. They need coaches, but it's a really wonderful program. There are some other programs that Rec is doing, including a vision board workshop this Saturday at the Woodland. There's still time to register. A meditation series for Saturdays starting January 25th, a senior group meditation on January 28th. And there are a couple of senior trips. I want to point out especially Mystic Pizza at the Paper Mill Playhouse. The senior trip is on February 20th, but everyone should get your tickets because this features two Maplewoodians. So I want to give a shout out. The adaptation for Mystic Pizza, which was a movie, and it was adapted into a play. The adaptation was written by Maplewood resident Sandy Rustin.
Yep.
And it's directed by Maplewood resident Casey Hushon. So two Maplewoodians are involved. It should be a really good show. And then there's another senior trip to M for Murder on February 26th. So that's what I got.
Dial M for Murder, right? The old movie, Doris Day, just saying.
Can I ask a quick question on camp registration? So is the mermaid camp and the dive camp opening on Monday as well? Because in previous years, those have opened up later. Do you know?
That is a great question, and I don't know the answer because I think you're right. Those did open up later, those pool ones.
Yeah, we've talked about, or there's been conversation about, can they register earlier? Because sometimes they have to start open late. So I'm just curious if we can get clarification on that. Maybe we can put something out.
Yeah. we'll have to follow up on that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can speak with the department head. Fine.
I was just curious because it was in the list that she provided, so
Mhm.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Committee Member Engel.
We had our first communications committee meeting of the year this morning with our new public information officer, Cindy Price, who lives in Maplewood. And we are very excited. We had a long agenda list kind of going through all the things we've talked about and all things that are upcoming. And I'm really excited to have her on board. So welcome, Cindy. I've been meeting with the Youth Advisory Committee since August, and we have like a great small crew. We have more applications coming in, but they are working on a pitch for an idea that they have that they think would be good for our youth. So, Mayor, I will let you know when they're ready to come present here, whether it's during public comment or we can have a presentation with them or something. So we've been working on something. So stay tuned. I gave you a preview, Mr. Wary, I think. So
Yeah, just let me.
Very
know when
exciting.
we'll be on.
thank you. That's my report.
Okay, any questions for Committee Member Engel? All right, I have no report. It's no meetings for me yet, so. All right, we'll move on to discussion items. And Mr. DeLuca, Stormwater Utility Credit Policy.
Thank you, Mayor. And today you received a document from Ms. Credidio. You probably have not had a chance to look at it, but I just want to go over some of the highlights of the fee policy. Number one, there, and let me just, before I say that, the way this worked is that we had our consultants provide us with a draft. They used the New Brunswick fee policy as a model and looked at some other states. We did the same. I looked at some other states. And then we held a meeting with the consultants and we went over line by line. And then Ms. Credidio was tasked with making changes that we agreed to, and also, as we say, Maplewoodize the language and everything else. So that's what we have, and that's what you received today. It also contains specific lists of credits for residents under 3 residential dwelling units. This was put together by Mr. Kittner, and with Mr. Weary and myself, we went over this on Monday and finalized this, and that's in there too. So I want to just go over some of the basics here. So someone who wants to apply for credit, and again, a credit is different than an adjustment. An adjustment is, we say you have so many square feet of impervious surface, and they say, oh no, I don't. I have this or that, you counted that and something's not there anymore. I took down the garage or something, blah, blah, blah. So that would be an adjustment, and that process is different. Then there's the credit, which is for doing good things and actually either capturing stormwater or diverting stormwater. So you get a credit for that. And I'll give you just the cleanest example is when Winchester Gardens was built, when it expanded, they were required to build a retention basin, which is if you're ever down at the OEM building, it's behind there. It's this big basin that sits empty except for when it rains. That's where the water goes to sit, and then it goes out a little by a little. So that would be a credit because that's a good thing. That's capturing the stormwater. So that's the kind of example. Of course, a resident is not going to do something like that. So we tried to figure out what to do. But in any event, we said if you want to apply for a credit, there would be no fee. We don't want to put a fee out there and either be as much as the credit would be or just make it difficult for people to want to apply for a credit. So another thing is that the credit doesn't expire. I think it was proposed to us that the credit expires in 5 years. We said no, the credit should stay. If you're going to do this, the credits should stay. The only thing is every 3 years, you just have to recertify that it's still functional.
Right.
So that's just something there. And then there's no reporting except for larger properties. Larger properties would have to provide an annual report. So that's 3 dwelling units or larger. And then there's the series of credits. So, the easiest thing for somebody to do is to put a rain barrel out there. 55-gallon rain barrel captures rain off the roof. That means the rain's not going out into the street or into the sewers, and that's a good thing. So we said, okay, if you're going to put a rain barrel, it has to be at least 50 not 50 times, 50 gallons. And what we're proposing is a one-time credit of $20. You get a rain barrel, you put in an application, says, I have a rain barrel. We go by, we see the rain barrel there, it's hooked up, and we process the $20 credit. You get it one time, and that's it. So whenever you put that rain barrel in, your next bill would have a $20 credit. Then there's dry wells where you actually put wells in. There's porous pavements. We had a lot of conversation about this. This is where you take the asphalt that's in your driveway, pull it up, you layer gravel underneath, and you create space for water to percolate and sit, and then you put porous pavers on top. If you do that, it's expensive.
Yeah.
You do that, you get
Don't just do it for the credit.
yeah, you get to do that, you get a credit, and there's a certain percentage depending on how much of the impervious surface you remove. Rain gardens, rooftop gardens, they're all in there. Filter strips. We had a situation once where somebody's garage was emptying onto a neighbor, and they built this system where they could filter the water, and that kind of thing. Then there's an innovation credit, and then there's a tree planting credit. So we've talked, that's what's in here now. And what I would suggest is we kind of put this on for discussion again next meeting. And people in the interim can ask questions of us, ask questions of Ms. Credidio, any legal questions. And then we consider it for introduction in February and final in the second meeting in February. And we're good to go in March. The bills are not going to be going out until June.
May.
So May, June. So, we have time to put it together. The next step that we are working with our consultants is to get a list of large properties, and then we're going to set up meetings. For example, we might set up a meeting of all the houses of worship.
Yeah.
Set up a Zoom meeting for all the houses of worship and say, okay, we're doing this. This is what's going to happen. And before that meeting, people would know what their charges are going to be. Some of the, as we said all along, some of these churches that have large parking lots are going to pay because there's no impervious surface at all. I mean, there's no pervious surface. It's all impervious. It's all just, leaving their property and going somewhere else. So,
Right.
And then we're going to do that. We'll do that with some of the, maybe some large property owners, residential property owners, business property owners, and I said the churches, so, and other institutions, the schools and things like that. So that's what we'll be rolling out. We don't have that list yet. We're waiting for that spreadsheet. We've charged the consultants to get that to us as soon as they can, and we'll start that process.
Who reviews these credit applications?
It's the,
Kittner?
yeah, Kittner.
Mr. Kittner himself? Okay.
And then there's an appeal to the business administrator. Well, I should say his office.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the director of the
Appropriate authority.
utility authority.
Yeah.
So he might assign one of his staff. And then anybody who applies for a credit and is rejected, they can appeal to the administrator.
Cool.
And then Mr. Weary will go out and measure your rain barrel.
I like how you're referring to it as do a good thing, because I think that's what we're also trying to promote here, is that doing these things are good for the environment, for stormwater management. And yeah, it's expensive to do that change to impervious or the gravel and the pavers, but if you're already going to be doing your driveway, it puts it in your mind that, oh, wait, I can do this, and it's actually going to help with my stormwater. And I didn't have a chance to read it all, but I skimmed some of it, and I did talk to Ms. Credidio a little bit about it. I appreciate that we're putting in these low-hanging fruits, so be it like a rain barrel or whatnot, so that it can actually, we can start making change, even if we're not a gigantic property owner who can afford to do like these crazy things.
Right. And once we adopt this, I think we can provide in our communications that we can provide examples, and perhaps even we can refer people to contractors or other experts who can do these kinds of things, and they can get information about pricing and how easy it is to do things.
And explain a little better, like what they even are, like, for, rain garden, we all know what it is, but like how much of a rain garden do you actually need on your property to qualify for credit, and how do you actually go about doing it?
Yeah, Ms. Engel, I was going to ask you if you take it to environmental advisory to give maybe a FAQ list of a rain barrel, like you can reuse the water for watering your garden. You should put something on top of it so it doesn't become a nesting, birthplace for mosquitoes. And, any kind of our suggestions, it would just be helpful. And then that can go on the website.
Yep. And can I send this to them?
Sure. Right? Until it's adopted.
To who, the
Uh,
environmental? Oh, yes.
yeah,
yes, yeah. They're an in-house group, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some examples and a little explainer, because
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer, so when I look at this list, it was
Right. There are,
Google some of the things.
we've been looking at a bunch of websites, Pittsburgh and there's one in West Virginia that I think is a great website, has little videos, shows all this stuff. I mean, the other thing we need to do is we need to put out a list of the projects that are going to be covered, and we'll be dealing with that in the budget time. They've done maps to show where the work's going to be done, so people see work around the town. So we want to do all that so that they understand what this fee's for, and then what they might be able to get a credit for.
Terrific.
I just wanted to clarify, so I think you mentioned that all the credits, they're one time only?
No, just
No.
the rain
Oh,
barrel.
just the rain barrel. Okay. That wasn't clear when I was reading through here, because I was thinking, actually, I Googled at Home Depot. It looks like you can get a rain barrel for like $79 or something. So, you have to get $20 off. That helps pay for that.
Mhm.
And a dry well is apparently sort of like an underground
Yep.
rain
Yeah, that's-
barrel. I had to Google that too.
Yeah, dry well, it's about 10 grand to put in. so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of these are like, if you're going to put off rooftop, like a rooftop garden, rooftop vegetarian, like
Green
you have to get a
roofs.
licensed architect, building permit. So,
Yeah, because you're
know.
putting it on your roof.
Well, you
That's
have
more
a,
for
you
like a
have a
building.
weight issue. You have to make sure that
right,
whoever's developing it,
right.
you can do that. But if you're building or rehabbing a house, you might want to just add something like that. You put a couple more supports in to
Mhm.
Or it
cover
could
that.
go on top of some Maplewood rooms.
Right. And presumably, some of the larger residential properties
Mhm.
that are going to have a heavier burden are presumably owners who can afford to do some of these things.
Yeah, because that's a
Presumably.
percentage. I think that's a percentage one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. We had a bunch of those.
So
So we're going to move forward with
yeah,
another.
we'll,
Does everyone agree with Mr. DeLuca to have another discussion meeting on this? Just so
don't think
everybody
everybody
can
read it.
review it?
I have
Yeah,
already
no,
read
I
it.
didn't get a chance to read it.
No,
Right?
Yeah.
All right.
do we have any idea of how many applications we'll receive?
No.
Like,
our,
Any-
our consultants think it will not be a lot.
okay,
For credit, yeah, probably not.
It's just that, there's an inertia factor. People are
Yeah.
going to weigh what they're paying. I mean, the fee is $70. A good portion of people are going to pay $35.
right.
So there's going to be a lot of cost benefit analysis, but I think you're right. If you are doing your driveway over, maybe you're going to think about doing it a little differently. Maybe not so much for the credit, but just for the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even a rain barrel, we're talking about capturing, but don't forget that if you're not using New Jersey American Water's
You're not
water
paying.
to
That's right.
water your garden or something, then you're saving money there too.
Yeah.
That's a
You're
good point.
not,
Yeah, so I think this is a good opportunity to get information out, and I think the environmental advisory would be the best place to do that.
Yeah. And I also want to just say, I really like the innovation credit too, and highlight how it's, talk to us first so that we can talk through it. But I think that's a really good idea. It might give us ideas for things we want to update for in
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah.
So
And
thank you
for
for.
our own properties and our own big parking lots, we should look at. what we need
Yes.
to Repave, because we pay for our own.
so we'll discuss it again on the 21st and then intro on the first meeting in February with final in the second meeting, okay?
Yes?
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second,
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. This takes us to our second public comment on any subject matter. Do we have anyone in the room who would like to speak at public comment? Come on up, name and address, and 3 minutes to speak. Say,
Fred Perfetta, 1 Hickory Drive.
oh, you might want to give them. No, these meetings, your meetings went to midnight. These meetings don't go to midnight.
Democracy.
Really?
Okay.
I'm bored of that.
I'm here to talk to someone tonight about the famous demolition.
Pull the mic up so we can hear
Oh,
you.
yes. Okay. As I'm sure you know, the builder at this place was told not to demolish the structure until the Historic Preservation Commission had ruled as to whether it had historic significance or not. There was a Historic Preservation Commission hearing on Friday, last Friday, at which the builder, Mr. Sharif, testified under oath that, among other things, he tore down, before this hearing, the interior structure of the house, leaving the exterior walls unsupported. And as he put it, lo and behold, Mother Nature came along, Mother Nature, and blew down the walls. So it wasn't his fault that it was demolished. It was that nature stuff, So it certainly appeared, at least from what he was saying, that that wasn't the case and that he really had effectively demolished the structure. But the Historic Preservation Commission ignored this and decided that it was their job at this point in time to determine the historical significance of the building that was already demolished. Now, what they should have done, I think, is that they should have investigated the motives and the actions of the builder. And that's what I asked them at the proceeding to do. And they said, no, that was not within their jurisdiction. They had to just go on and do the significance evaluation, and they would do it sometime in the next 45 days. There's a doctrine in law, and it applies for centuries. It goes back to the common law. It's called spoliation of evidence. And that holds that if you're a party to a proceeding and you alter the evidence in any way, destroy it, modify it, change it so you can't really tell what's going on, you lose, no matter how good your case is, because you frustrated the ability of the body to determine what the truth is. You've actually got that codified in your demolition ordinances before you. And as you can see, Section 8, where I put a tag, goes through all of the things that the builder might do, rendering the structure structurally unsound and therefore more suitable for demolition. If he does any of these things, doing so shall constitute a violation of this article and shall result in the denial of the demolition permit application without anything more. Because what the builder has done is effectively frustrated the ability of the body in charge of deciding this to make an accurate and honest determination. So as I said, I asked that this be done, that the builder's motives and actions be investigated at that very night, last Friday, and a lot of the people there also from the public wanted to do this also. Some people read into the record the actions of this builder in other towns like South Orange in ignoring directions of governing bodies and clear-cutting trees and so forth. But they didn't do that. And what I'm asking this Township Committee to do tonight is to inform the Historic Preservation Commission that before they go on into any questions, which to me, my mind, are moot at this point, of historical significance, they determine, as a factual matter, whether the builder violated Section 8 of your ordinance. And if they do find that and report that to you, and you agree with him, case closed. It's the end. He doesn't get a demolition permit. He can't go on with the proceedings. No. If you have any questions of me, I'll be glad to answer them.
Committee member DeLuca as the liaison here, did you want to add anything into the record here in terms of factual
yeah,
timeline?
So I mean, it's
I
pretty,
wasn't gonna answer.
it's pretty clear what this says. It doesn't say that the HPC has this responsibility. I think this responsibility, whether or not there's a violation and whether there's a denial, rests with the administrative office, and that's upstairs, the buildings office. And they're going to have to decide if they want to bring a case against this person for violating the ordinance. And right now, the demolition permit is stayed. They can't do any more work there. So it's not really the Historic Preservation's responsibility to investigate. It's the building department's. And they're well aware, based on the hearing Friday night, that they, we're trying to sort this out. This is a rather unique situation. This is our third hearing. The other two hearings went very well. This is clearly a different situation. But if there's a finding of fault and if there's going to be any kind of violation, it really needs to come from the building department. And I think our attorney would agree with that.
Let me say this, Mr. Luca. The ordinance doesn't say that. The ordinance just says it's unlawful to do this, and if somebody does it, it's a violation of this section. He was there under oath. He was talking about what he had done to the building. He could have easily been asked to elaborate further, and it would have become more clear what he had actually done. One member started to ask him, well, did you not put up any supports? He never answered that question. They had him under oath. That was the body. I mean, this should be done under oath. So the guy commits perjury if he's telling a lie. That, to me, is the body where the fact finding should take place. Whether there is a further decision by the township to deny a permit, I have no problem with that. But the building department doesn't take proceedings under oath. They're taken before bodies such as the Historic Preservation Committee, the Planning Board, the Zoning Board. That's where they put people under oath. And I'm sure that the lawyers who are very good, who drafted this, had precisely that in mind.
So I think if the building division upstairs wants to pursue this, they're going to file a violation against this person. The person's going to go to court, and they're going to testify under oath in court. The Historic Preservation Commission is not a body that does that kind of investigation. They investigate the historic significance of the house, and that's what this ordinance is about. It's now clear that there's something happened up there, and it's up to the building department and the Department of Community Development to pursue this. And if it's going to go to court, that's where the builder's going to have to testify under oath.
Well, all right. Assuming that that's the proper procedure, would you agree that that is a threshold matter? It's, to my mind, kind of silly for the Historic Preservation Commission to go on now and consider historical significance before the demolition work was done, where none of that has to be done. If in fact he loses in the first instance because he committed a fraud.
Mr. Ray, I'm going to ask you to talk with the Director of Community Development about this and have them determine whether or not they want to proceed with any violations to this builder.
One of the things I said that night was, look, these are all volunteers on the Historic Preservation Commission. Their time is valuable.
Yeah.
Put them through another hearing on historical significance, which is rather complicated, when this is really a matter of, is he out of court or not now because he lied? Seems to me to be a real imposition on volunteers.
Understood. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
I have a quick question about that. So practically speaking, where are we now? notwithstanding everything that we just
Okay.
heard.
So the way the ordinance is written, that if they find that there's a potential historic significance, they have 45 days to develop a nominating petition, a nominating petition for the structure. So they're now going to do more research on whether or not the structure should be nominated. Now, the basis upon which they decided that it did have potential significance is the historic district, the Ridgewood Road Historic District.
Okay. But again, practically speaking, since there's not much there,
No, I know. Look, it was a unanimous vote. The attorney and I are not voters, and, you know, we provided guidance, the attorney did. And, you know, we're going to have some more conversations on our side. We're going to reach out. I think we're going to reach out to a historic expert, legal expert, to find out, just get some other opinions. But that's where we are. Right now, the Historic Commission has taken the step to consider this further for nomination.
But I don't think that has to be separate and apart. It can happen.
It can all happen, yeah, it can all happen on
in
parallel.
parallel, yeah.
So in addition, I mean, I think there's court proceedings likely, whether initiated by the township, whether initiated by the applicant. So I would probably refrain from
Talking about it too much.
contemplating, you know, or noodling about, you know, potential outcomes at this time. But, you know, I think we can suffice it to say that the HPC is working through the process that's outlined in the ordinance, and that community development and code will be working to enforce our ordinance.
Yep.
Right, but my question relates farther down the road, right? So I'm not talking about this particular owner and the facts, what happened and what didn't happen, right? If the commission decides that they're going to nominate this, what are they nominating? Because it affects the potential of what happens there in the future. Let's say this owner walks away, they get in trouble, they go to court, you know, whatever.
Again, I would really, we can
Yeah, I
connect
think what our
offline, but
attorney is advising.
I really don't want to speculate about next steps.
I think if we want to talk about the ordinance itself, we can do it in your code committee to see if there's adjustments that need to be made that make it for the practical reasons we're talking.
I'll add it to the agenda for Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, again, I want to say, we've had 3 hearings. This hearing was and the other 2 hearings, I think the reports were done very well. They did a great job on the reports. They were very thoughtful in how they approached this. Everyone participated. They did the same for this. The report was pretty good. They were thoughtful in their deliberations, and they made a decision. This just happens to be, so I think the ordinance is working pretty good. I think there's this wrinkle in that this house isn't there anymore, and now we have to figure out what happens.
Right.
Sure.
But I think
Understood.
the parallel tracks is the way we're going to go. We're not going to tell HPC to not do what they
Agreed.
want to do. And we're going to have our Director of Community Development, who I'm sure is watching, look into this further. All right. Is there any other members of the public who would like to, there's nobody here, but online, Mr. Wary?
If anyone joining on Zoom would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now. I am moving Daniel Wright to panelist. Mr. Wright, welcome to public portion. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Hi, this is Daniel Wright, Chair of the Maplewood Historic Preservation Commission. I just wanted to say that I'm here and I listened to the conversation that was just had. So, and thank you for the kind words about the research reports, Mr. DeLuca.
Thank you. Anyone else, Mr. Wary?
If any other members joining on Zoom would like to address the committee, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
All right, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Can't always
I
be.
didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Sengel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you on the 21st. Have a good evening.
Good night. We want to keep this in.